Hi everyone and welcome along to another episode of the Celtic View Podcast, where each week we look back in all of the action from the men's team, the women's team and the B team, and we review what's coming up this week at the club. I'm Ryan Maher, and again this week I am joined by Paul Cuddihy. Paul, another decent weekend for Celtic?
Yeah, I mean it was a clean sweep of the three teams. Every game in itself was great. Obviously starting with the first team, brilliant performance and result down at Rugby Park, but the B team had started off on the Saturday with the victory over Gretna, and then of course the women's team winning as well. So all good in the world of Celtic.
Yeah, it's all good. So coming up in this episode today, we're going to look back on all of the action of those three games, and we also have an interview with Taylor Otto, who's just signed for the Celtic women's team last week and has played in their first two SWPL 1 matches. But first of all, Paul, a moment of the weekend, what would it be for you?
I think it has to be Carol Starfelt's goal. I mean that's got to be the highlight. the game itself at Rugby Park, that's as comfortable a victory and as good a performance as I've seen down there by a Celtic team in a long time. We completely dominated the game. It was 5-0, it could have been much more, but I think for Starfelt to, obviously he's missed the start of the season through injury, he's just worked his way back. The other central defenders have really stepped up as well. They've not been getting on the score sheet. He sees Moritz Jens with that brilliant overhead kick and thinks, right, okay, I'm going to have to step up here. But it was great, I think that was his 50th appearance, and he marks it with a goal. So you could see that everybody, from the manager to all the players, were delighted that he's finally, broke his scoring duck. So for me, that was probably the highlight.
Yeah, I think last weekend I said my moment of the weekend was just Moritz Jens' smile after scoring against Ross County. I think I could probably do the same again this weekend after that overhead kick, and just seeing the joy in his face. It almost looked like he was thinking, how have I just done that? It was incredible. So many big moments in that game though. Jens' goal, Yakimakis' overhead kick, Yota's goal as well, Greg Taylor's pass for the first goal. I mean, all round it was just a 5-star performance, wasn't it?
And I think as well, what I really liked after the game, I think a lot of people have seen the post-match interview that Jota and Greg Taylor gave, and I thought Jota was really generous and absolutely right in his praise of Greg Taylor, who I think since the start of the season has been exceptional. I think whether defensively or in terms of attacking, we spoke about it last weekend, the goal that we got in the last minute was his pressing. Did you see his pass for the opening goal for Maida was absolutely pinpoint perfect. I thought he did another brilliant game, and it was good. I think, as I say, Jota was keen just to praise him and say that for him, Greg was the man of the match.
Conditions though at Rugby Park in terms of playing in that plastic pitch with the heat as well, it could have caused us so many problems, but they just managed to get through it with so much ease, and the performance levels all round were just sensational, weren't they?
What was interesting in the Celtic TV commentary, Jerry had mentioned the fact he'd been down there I think 2 hours before the game, hadn't seen a single drop of water put on the pitch. That was obviously deliberate from Kilmarnock's point of view, which is obviously they're within their rights to do that. I think we'd spoken in the last podcast about the fact that manager from day one, there's never been any excuses, any extenuating circumstances. He knows that the pitch will be a factor, but it's, he's going to send his team out to play the way we play, and from the word go we did that, and we totally dominated a game against a very physical Kilmarnock side. I think they basically signposted the fact they were going to try and kick us off the park, but they just couldn't live with us. And as I say, I thought the fifth goal, the Yakimakis goal, was maybe typified the way we played. It started in a passing movement in our own penalty box and ends up with a goal, a really good goal as well. So I think the whole afternoon was exceptional.
Yeah, we asked you to send in how you wanted to sum up the match with one word, so we got some people sending them in. Danny called it magnificent, Joe called it quality, Leah called it bonza and said I think Ange would agree, and Anthony O'Sullivan called it mesmerising. If you had to sum up, Paul, with one word, what would you go with?
Exceptional.
Exceptional, yeah. I mean, in terms of just the start to the season so far, we're now 3 games in, we've got 3 wins, but it's the performance levels every week just seem to keep improving as well, and we saw that again on Sunday, that every week they just seem to keep getting better.
Yeah, and I do think it's been beneficial to have that scheduled pre-season where we haven't had to play the qualifiers, that the players have been able to get a proper build-up, and then even in between these games just now we're getting a full week where the manager is working with the players on the training pitch, and then you're seeing the product at the weekend. That's going to change very quickly when it's going to be a really heavy schedule. But I think you can see the benefits of that. Also, the players are a year further down the line in terms of the style of play and how we want to play. And I think but again, the pleasing thing for me is it's relentless. It's, you know, whether it's first minute or last minute, we're still going for goals, and we are probably here just with the bigger pitch and the fact we're on the front foot. We're going to absolutely annihilate a team. I don't know who it's going to be. We all know who we would like it to be, but I think there's going to be a day where everything is going to click into place, and you know, we're going to get even more than 5 goals. 5 different goal scorers as well. The goals have been spread out all over the pitch, which is really pleasing. So there's so much positivity to the start of the season, and long may that continue.
There wasn't much rotation in the starting 11 in the game against Kilmarnock, but when players are coming off the bench and when players do have to come in, like Starfelt coming on and Moritz Jens started against Ross County, everybody is taking their chance at this moment, which is just brilliant for the manager.
Absolutely, yeah, and again it's the strength of the squad. Again at the weekend, particularly, you know, again before the game, the manager had said he wanted to give Rio Hatate just a few more days training because of the surface. But you've got somebody of David Turnbull's quality. You saw at the weekend Leila Bada coming on, and every time he comes on he looks dangerous, he looks a goal threat, he's creating chances. James Forrest, when he came on as well, just looked lively down the left. So we've got strength and depth, and I think because the team's playing so well, when everybody comes in, they know that this is their opportunity to try and, you know, get a place in the starting 11. So I think it's that competitiveness, which I'm sure is the case every day in training, and then it's translated onto the pitch at the weekend.
In terms of the goals, I mean, it was 5 really, really special goals. Do you have a favourite out of all of them?
I mean, Jota's goal was spectacular. I mean, he just had one thought in his mind as soon as he took a touch. I thought it was a brilliant finish, and again, he looks excellent. It's hard to say. I think Kyogo's goal, just the Taylor pass, Maeda having that vision, you know, 2 overhead kicks. I think you're right about Moritz Jens. There was a kind of element of delight and surprise. It was a wonderful finish, and then Giakoumakis does what he does. He just in the box. He's just got that awareness, and it was there he just turned. It was almost like he anticipated it, and then he'd already turned his body around and just took the goalkeeper by surprise. And again, I think it's hard to pick. Probably the most significant in terms of the goals was Starfelt's, probably the least impressive in terms of the finish, but you know, it's always, I don't care, as long as we score, they're all good goals.
In terms of Starfelt getting a goal, I mean, when the keeper made the save the first time, I just thought he's just never going to be able to find the back of the net. He had so many opportunities last season when the ball just bounced the wrong way or bounced into the path of someone else. So really amazing to see him get off the mark and get his first goal for the club as well.
I think what's pleasing, I mean, that was a goal that was made by the central defence, because it was Cameron Carter-Vickers got the knock on, and actually Cal Starfelt, it was that anticipation when he kind of just dropped off his man and he was looking at the back post and nobody marked him. Again, we're looking very dangerous, I think, from set pieces now, which is, I think, is very encouraging, because we're on the front foot so often, we get so many corners. I think the delivery that's coming in, whether we're playing them quickly to try and, you know, before defences can settle in at their defensive formation, or whether, you know, like some Matt O'Reilly swinging the ball into the box, we look very dangerous from set pieces. So I think that's really encouraging going forward.
And do you think that will be really important as well when we're going into the Champions League, where we obviously don't know who the draw is going to be, but the chances are you're going to get a couple of big teams where you're not going to have all the possession all the time? Those set pieces could be so important, so it's a great sign at the moment.
I think when you're stepping up to that level, you won't get as many chances. We just won't, because, as you say, when we go to the Bernabeu to play Real Madrid, they'll have probably the majority of the ball. So whatever chance, whether it's from a corner kick, a free kick, or just, you know, a chance that we create, I suppose the thing is you need to take those chances, because you don't get that many of them, so you need to finish them. But because the goals are coming from all over the park, I think that's what's encouraging, certainly going forward, that every outfield player looks capable of getting on the score sheet.
Mm-hmm. Well, we've showed you the goals, but let's have another look back at the highlights of Celtic 5, Kilmarnock 0.
What a pass from Greg Taylor, Maeda, and across, it's a great chance, and it's in from Kyogo. It's the opening goal for Celtic, 6.5 minutes gone. And that was all about the pass from Greg Taylor to Maeda. Absolutely top draw from the Celtic left back. Maeda laid it on a plate for Kyogo, who simply cushioned the ball in off the post.
Well, there you go. There's the quality that we've been looking for, Jerry, from the start, from the off, when the players talking about it. And the Taylor, of all people, well, an unexpected person to be the playmaker. But it shows you that we can produce it from anywhere. And then the quality in as well. The finish, Kyogo in the place where he should be, across the defender. 1-0 to the hooks.
Chance on the break now for Celtic. First time pass from Jota. I think Kyogo may have been offside there. That's why he wasn't too concerned about getting it. Now Jota has it outside the area. Oh my goodness! He's done it again! Would you believe it? Jota from fully 30 yards rifles one past Walker. I think the goalkeeper might have got a touch. You could have had two goalkeepers in there. It would still be in the back of the net. 34.5 minutes gone, and Jota has made it Kilmarnock 0, Celtic 2.
Well, I was a little bit critical of his crossing just a moments earlier, but what an absolute superb finish. Every bit as good as the one that he scored at Celtic Park. You just come into an area, and that's what I say, the space that you might have in those areas. I think the goalkeeper got a good couple of hands that he might have done a bit better, but obviously the power, it's taken the goalkeeper by surprise, maybe reacted a little bit later, and that gives you the cushion. That's the quality we want to see.
Ball breaks to McGregor. Chance for Jens on the overhead kick. Oh yes! 2 goals in the Celtic career of Moritz Jens. And I'm not sure the big defender's ever scored an overhead kick before. He has now.
Oh, look, he's always going in slow motion. I think all the Kilmarnock players were waiting for an offside call. There was nobody. Sorry, he wasn't offside. Jens is finding himself in the position he had all the time in the world, but he decided, as you say, to do an overhead kick when he could have chested it, controlled it, and knocked it in. Maybe he thought somebody was going to come up and close him, barge him into him. But great adjustment, fantastic ability from Jens. Just screamers of the goals that he's scored in his career for Celtic.
It comes from O'Reilly. The header and a real chance in front of goal. And it's a first Celtic goal for Carl Starfelt. Well, you can see what it means to him. He was the only player not to score last season, and in his first appearance this season, he's got a goal. It's Celtic's 4th, and it's the number 4, Carl Starfelt.
Maurice Jens was on him when he'd been there in that position, but I thought he'd lost the opportunity when he had his first attempt at goal, but then it bounced back off of the goalkeeper Walker, and just at the right place at the right time for Carl Starfelt, and he'll be absolutely delighted. Really chuffed that he's managed to get a wee boost, obviously coming back through the injury, losing his place in the team and his player that he's replacing him, scoring a couple of goals. That'll give him a huge, massive boost.
Overhead kick! What a goal from Yakimakis! Well, he's no stranger to an overhead kick, but that's 2 in the game for Celtic, and anything Jens can do, Yakimakis can do.
Well, was that one better? It's arguably absolutely outstanding from improvisation again from Yakimakis. And in this instance, Jens the last time firing it in. Just thought we'd lost that opportunity when the ball was cleared with the head, but didn't get cleared very, very well. And it just fell nicely. I think Yakimakis adjusted his body perfectly.
Celtic are back top of the league. All right, we're still early in the season, but my goodness, 5-0 away at Kilmarnock. is a top draw performance with some wonderful goals this afternoon. Kyogo, Jota, Jens in the first half, and then in the second half Starfelt, and Giacomakis topping things off with an overhead kick. Let's not talk about the pitch anymore, Tom, because the manager and the players have put any psychological negativity to bed. That was a wonderful performance.
There was another win for the women's team as well on Sunday as they defeated Partick Thistle 2-0 away from home in their second match of the SWPL 1 campaign. I caught up with Taylor Otto, the new signing from America, to talk about her life at Celtic now and to look back on that match. But first, let's show you the highlights from that 2-0 win.
Well done at the back post.
Taylor, thank you very much for joining the podcast. How's things? How are you settling into life in Glasgow?
Good. It's been really good. I've enjoyed it so far, so yeah, it's been good.
Yeah, what's it been like then, kind of making the move? So you only really in the door in the last couple of weeks, moving over from America. So what's that transition been like for you?
Honestly, it hasn't been too bad. It's been pretty nice. Like, all the girls have been great. The club's been great, coaches and staff and everything. So they've made it pretty easy for me. So yeah, it's not been too bad. I've enjoyed it.
Yeah, and I mean, you're straight in the door, 2 games, 2 wins. I mean, you couldn't have got off to much of a better start to your life as a Celtic player.
Definitely a great start to the career at Celtic. So yeah, first game was great. The girls played great, and I was excited to get my debut in that. And then this last game was good as well. So yeah, it's been a good start.
Looking at your move and your decision to come to Celtic, what was it about the club that made you want to leave the States to then come over here?
For me, when I talked to Fran, he had kind of like a clear vision on what he was trying to do here and how he wanted us to play. And that really made me interested in wanting to come here. So yeah, that was a big factor in it. So
just kind of give fans a little bit of a brief outline about your career to date and what it is that you've done so far.
I played at UNC Chapel Hill in college for 4 years, and then I went to Racing Louisville, and I was there for about 1.5 years playing professionally, and then that's when I kind of decided to make the move here.
So what's the differences? I know you've only had 2 games at the moment in Scotland, but in terms of those differences between football in the States and football in Scotland, do you notice much of a change at all?
I think for me, it's just more of like a little bit of a different style of play. Both are great leagues, great teams. So I think it's just kind of like the way they want to play, and like maybe like I feel like here's like a little more like soccer related tactics, whereas like in America it's a little more physical, a little more athletic with those tactics involved. So yeah, it's just a little bit different pace.
Yeah. And in terms of the system over there, was it like college, university football that you would have started off playing in?
Yeah, like I went to university first, and then you go into the draft after that, and that's how I ended up at Louisville.
What did you study at university?
Sports administration.
Okay, so maybe a future career in there for you, do you think, after your football days?
Yeah, hopefully. Definitely wanna stay around the game and stuff. So
Yeah, I mean, it's such a different style over in the States compared to here, where you have that draft system. I mean, do you think that's something that's really benefited you, and do you think it's something that benefits a lot of players?
we just talked about this the other day. Actually, I think it's interesting. Like, I think the draft does a good job of kind of like leveling the playing field across the whole league, and makes it like a little more competitive as a league. But I think it is tough where like you don't really have as much of like an option on like where you would like to go and like what you would like to do. So as like a singular player, you don't have as much freedom. So that's where it's tough. But I think like as a league, it can be very helpful to kind of grow the league as a whole.
Yeah, and because you're having to go through your education to then get into the draft as well, that must be something that's been a real benefit to you as well, that you're not leaving school really early to then try and make it as a professional player.
Yeah, I think that for me, like I'm super grateful that in the US, like you have that opportunity where you have really high level soccer as well as high level education at the same time. So yeah, I'm grateful for that opportunity. And I do think that's something that is very beneficial for a lot of players in America.
So what's it like when you're actually waiting to get picked in the draft? Because like I'm quite like a big NFL fan, so you get really excited when it gets to the draft time and you're waiting to see who's getting picked. Like for you as a player, do you know anything before getting picked? Do you have any inclination, or are you like the rest of us just watching and waiting to see where you go?
I mean, for me, like it was interesting because I got drafted during a COVID year. So it was all online. Like I was just sitting in my living room with my parents. So like it was just kind of like a casual day. But yeah, like you kind of have an idea of like which teams are interested, but you definitely don't know like which team's gonna pick you, what time you're gonna go. So you kind of have like a general idea of like maybe like the time you might go, but you don't know exactly. So you're kind of like with the fans on that. You're not really sure. You're just kind of waiting, hoping to see your name called. So
in terms then of you then coming to Celtic, as we said, you've only been in the door for a couple of weeks now, but have you noticed any sort of big, I'm sure culturally, there's been a lot of changes for you? Has that been something you've had to try and adapt to?
yeah, definitely like the accent a little bit. I feel bad sometimes, like every like 5 minutes, I'm like, I'm sorry, what did you say? Or I just kind of like look at people because I'm like, oh, I'm not sure what they just said. But yeah, other than that, not really much. But yeah, they all kind of make fun of me for my terms and being super American. So yeah.
Have you tried much of like the Scottish food or anything yet? Is that something you're still yet to do?
I haven't yet, so I definitely need to do that.
Is there anything on your list of like what you're really looking forward to trying or going to see in Scotland?
Honestly, not yet. Unsure. Kind of figure it out still, but we'll see.
Yeah, and in terms of the actual football as well, you got another win against Partick Thistle on Sunday, a 2-0 result. How was that game for you? It seemed like it was a decent test.
Yeah, I think that was good for us to kind of, I mean, after coming off the first game where we had a lot of confidence, we played really well beginning of the season. I think it was good to kind of have a little bit more like of a challenging situation for us in that game. Yeah, so I think it was good for us to get that result and kind of figure out the things that we need to work on this coming week.
I mean, confidence must be sky high in the team at the moment on the back of a 9-0 victory against Hibs in the first game of the season, and then backing that up with another result.
Yeah, definitely. I think especially playing two good teams and getting those results was really good for our confidence. So I think we're just trying to take the energy we have from those games and continue it on into all the next games that we have and go game by game. So yeah, it's definitely exciting start to the season.
What's your expectations then for the season ahead? What do you think this team can achieve?
I mean, I think this team can win it all for sure, but that's all just whether or not we go game by game and get the result every time. So yeah, I think that's what we're most focused on this year, is just making sure we get it done every day. So if we do that, then I think for sure that we can go all the way, win the league, win the cups, but we have to make sure that we do all the little steps in between.
When we knew that we were getting you on the podcast, I put a message out onto Twitter to get some fans to ask some questions. to you, so I've got a few of them here. So I've got a few from Naomi McConnell. First of all, she asked, how did it feel when you knew Fran was interested in signing you, and who's helped you settle best into the team?
I think I was really excited because this is obviously like a big club with a lot of history. So yeah, it definitely felt like a little bit of an honor to be like have a club and a coach interested in me and coming here. So yeah, that was exciting. And then for me, Clarissa has been really helpful in helping me kind of like navigate. Her and I are kind of from similar areas, I guess you could say. So yeah, it's been really helpful having her around. But most of the girls have been helpful as well. Everyone's been awesome.
Oh, that's good to hear. That's good to hear. Yeah. Next one here is from Alan McGrain, who says, what is the significance of the left sleeve and leg being rolled up? Is it a superstition? I think we saw some pictures in the game against Partick Thistle where you had that left sleeve rolled up. So what's going on with that?
I really don't know. Like, I just have always done that. Like, I feel like I get like irritated or something. It's just like habit now. Yeah, there's no like rhyme or reason to it. I just do it now for whatever reason. So yeah.
Almost like if you didn't do it, then you wouldn't feel comfortable out in the pitch.
Yeah. Yeah, at this point I just always do it, even if it's like hot, cold, whatever the weather. So yeah.
Brilliant, yeah. We've got another one here from Naomi as well, who said, what do you want to achieve in your time at Celtic?
I mean, for me personally, I wanna get better, and I wanna gain some confidence here and help the team win for sure. So yeah, those are the main things that I'm trying to get out of this. And obviously we want to win, and we want to win some cups. We want to win the league. So that's the major goal. But individually, I just want to improve and help the team as best as I can.
Mm-hmm. And last one, this one comes from Vix McLean. I mean, I take it this must be an American thing, saying, caramel or peanut butter M&Ms, and can you get me any? Is this something that you're aware of? I don't know. Is this an American thing?
Wait, what was the question?
Asking for between caramel or peanut butter M&Ms, what one's your favourite?
Peanut butter.
Peanut butter? Yeah. I don't think that's something we get here, so it must just be something you get over in the States. Yeah,
you guys only have like one or two types of M&Ms, and we have like a million different types in America. Yeah.
We're missing out. We need to change that. We need to next time you go over to America, bring some back, because they sound amazing. I'd love to try them actually.
Yeah, I will for sure.
Brilliant. I mean, so to close off, every time we get a guest on, we have some quick fire questions. So we put 60 seconds on the clock and we ask you questions and see how many you can get. So far we had Yorgos Yakimakis on last week and he managed 7. So do you think you could beat him? Do you feel confident getting more than 7?
What type of questions are these?
Well, so it's going to be a lot about football, your career, some bits about the Celtic team as well. So you ready to give it a go and see how you get on?
Oh gosh, we'll see.
Okay, right. I've got the question in front of me. I'm going to stick 60 seconds on the clock here. Okay, so you ready? So 3, 2, 1. Celtic won how many trophies last season?
2.
Yeah.
For the women's side?
For the women's side, yeah. 2. The US women's team have won how many World Cups?
4?
Correct. How many Americans are there in the current Celtic women's team?
1 right now.
Yep, that's you. What 2 players scored hat-tricks against Hibs in the 9-0 win?
Jazz and Clarissa.
Yep. Who scored the winning goal when the US beat Scotland 1-0 in 2018? Was it Megan Rapinoe, Alex Morgan or Carly Lloyd?
Megan Rapinoe?
No, it's Alex Morgan. Fran Alonso is from which country?
Spain.
Yep. Clarissa Larisey was born in which Canadian city?
Toronto or Ottawa?
Got a guess?
Ottawa.
Ottawa. Yep. And name one player that signed this summer for Celtic women's team.
Wait, I'm sorry, what was the question?
Name one other player that signed this summer for the Celtic women's team.
Claire.
Yep. Perfect. That was 7 as well. That's time's up now, but that seems to be the standard then. 7. You pleased with that score?
Yeah, that was all right. I'll take that one.
Good. Well, Taylor, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. Really appreciate you taking out the time, and all the best for the rest of the season and getting out and exploring Glasgow and Scotland.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
The B team are also in action on Saturday as they headed down to the borders to play Gretna, where they won 4-1 in their Lowland League clash. Paul, that was a game that I was at. Again, it was so hot on Saturday in general, but in Gretna I think it got to 30 degrees. You had water breaks like we saw in the men's game, the first team game yesterday as well. But again, it was a really good performance from the B team. They went a goal down early on, conceding a penalty. But the fitness levels of the team were so good throughout the match, and they scored a couple of late goals. One of them an absolute screamer from Sosa as well. But you can see the work that they're doing, the way they're trying to play. Things can seem to be quite positive at the moment around the B team. Yeah,
well, I'd mentioned last week that I felt kind of similar to last season. It just took them maybe a few weeks to get into the rhythm of the league, the 2 games or 3 games in the space of a week, and I think that will definitely come. It was interesting, as you say, you were at the game, but just the fact that the fitness levels, which I think over the course of the season will have an impact on a lot of the games. And you know, there's so many different aspects of the B team that they're looking for. It's not just about the game itself, it's about their development, but it's breeding that winning culture. So every time they win, then it's a good thing for the Celtic team. And to lose a goal so early on, I think it was only a couple of minutes gone, and then to bounce back in the way they did, I think that's a good. It must be encouraging as well in terms of the character of the players, that they're still young players, but the one thing they're going to do is just keep doing what they've been training all week to do.
Mm-hmm. Because at the moment for the B team playing in the Lowland League, they're playing sort of every 3 or 4 days at the moment. I don't think they've got a game now till next Sunday, but that development of playing games regularly, playing against people that are older men, Gretna had a couple of big guys in their team as well. That kind of physical development is going to be huge for him playing in this league.
Yeah, well, I thought it was interesting. We went into that game at the weekend on the back of a really good victory over Albion Rovers, which again they had to come back from having trailing that game against a team that's playing in League 2. So that would have given them a real boost as well. And again, the fact that the second half I think was just a procession of Celtic chances. We definitely deserved the victory. Could have been a heavier defeat for Albion Rovers. But I think because of that, then they must have gone into that game at the weekend full of confidence and thinking, right, no, we know we're a good team. We've just shown it against a team of a higher standard than Gretna. Let's go and do it again.
So as I said, the B team, their next game is away to Hearts on Sunday. It's a triple header for the Celtic teams next Sunday because all 3 of them are playing. The first team are at home to Hearts, the women's team are at home to Spartans as well. In terms of the first team's match at home to Hearts, again, they defeated Dundee United on Sunday 4-1. They're going to be coming into this game in the back of playing on Thursday night in Europe. Do you think that'll have an impact in the game at all?
I think it might actually. It was interesting, obviously Dundee United came into that game at the weekend in the back of the hammering against AZ Alkmaar, but even the previous week they'd won the home leg 1-0, and then I think they lost against St Johnstone at the weekend. So at a club like Celtic, our players are used to that environment normally of playing, Wednesday or Thursday and then at the weekend. So they're used to the demands of that. Teams like Hearts and Dundee United maybe aren't. So it will be interesting to see how they are. I'm sure Hearts would have much rather been playing at Tynecastle because they're almost a different, proposition when they're playing at home. It's a different kind of game. I think quite often when they're here, they're really on the back foot. So I mean, regardless of whether they're playing anyway, the way we're playing just now, I think we'll be too strong for them. It'd be great to hammer them, obviously, but as long as we get the 3 points, that's the main thing. Yeah,
it's going to be a good test though, because Hearts have started the season particularly well. They look to be playing good football, and it's just always Celtic and Hearts games are always big and exciting games anyway. But anytime they're coming to Celtic Park as well, so are you quite comfortable and confident that we're going to get the win?
I think as long as we just play the way we're playing. I think our team must be full of confidence the way that we've started playing the season. We're creating lots of chances. As I say, when you're playing at home, we're on the front foot all the time anyway. But a team like Hearts, they'll maybe come and have a goal when they're playing at the home. I think the fans demand that. I think often when they come here that they are very much more defensively minded, and so I'm very confident that if we play anywhere near the way we can, then we'll get the 3 points.
So it's Hearts for the first team on Sunday. The B team are also playing Hearts as well away from home. This is their first season, the Hearts B team in that Lowland League. So how do you expect that one to go for the Bees?
I think that'll be a tough game. It's a good gauge, as you say. Last season it was only Celtic and Rangers that had the B teams in the Lowland League. I think Hearts, they've generally had quite a decent youth system, and they've brought some players through into their first team. So I think that'll be a good test. But given the fact we've had a couple of really good wins, then I'm confident that the young team will do well.
Yeah, and for the women's team as well, at home to Spartans, they've won their first 2 games of the league season. They'll be hoping to continue that 100% record. Spartans in the women's game have always been a tricky test though. So again, what's your thoughts and your expectations for that one?
Yeah, I think for us actually they've always been a tricky opponent. I think there's just some teams that I wouldn't say struggle, but they seem to always give us a really tough game, and it's very rare that we absolutely dominate or hammer them. So I think it will be a tough game. They are always tricky opponents, but again, a good week's preparation for Fran Alonso's side, and they must be confident again of continuing that good start to the season.
Yeah, well, fingers crossed we have 3 wins to talk about.
Absolutely.
This time next week, Paul. Thanks very much for joining us, and thank you very much for watching on this latest edition of the Celtic View podcast.